This is Louis Zumbaugh with Rush Hour Ag. Leave your message after the tone.
Hey Louis, it's Elliott and Henderson. Can't wait to tell you about
rolling down the back road, truth riding with the dust, talking agriculture policy with people you can trust. From the field to the Capitol, we're breaking it down. Real talk, real issues from a real farm town. Every hour's rush hour when the work won't wait, so we're cutting through the noise and setting things straight.
What's your rush today, Elliott? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Rush Hour Ag. We're here at the 2025 Farm Progress Show in, where are we at?
Illinois.
Illinois.
Huh.
And we're sharing the stage with Farm for Profit once again. So we're an upgrade from our couple of last ones. We had some technical difficulty. I don't think we'll have that today.
No, I don't either.
So anyway, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, listeners. And the guest that we got today, Mr. NASA himself, Lance Lillibridge.
How you doing, guys?
Really good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Glad we can get you on here. Been wanting to get you on here for a while. A lot of topics to get over today.
You finally saved up enough money to
afford you? Yeah, right.
There you go. We did a show a few weeks ago, or time flies, might be a couple months ago, but it was on conspiracy theories that Louis believes in, and one of them was that we may not have went to the moon. We'll try to hit that toward the end.
Yeah, we can hit that.
Yeah. You probably got like an NDA or something on that one, though.
No, that's above my pay grade. But
topic free for discussion.
So Lance, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
sure, I farm in Benton County, Iowa. We farm corn. We do not farm soybeans, noxious weeds. Soybeans. We have red Angus cattle, cow-calf herd. It's my wife, my son, and I, and that keeps us pretty busy. But I also participate in other things, such as NASA. I do some work with NASA. Part of the FIAT team, the Farmer Ambassador Innovation Team, which is under the NACRS. Geez, you're going to have to cut that and redo that.
You can.
Which is under the NASA Acres program. And we do some stuff with Clear Flame Engine. Been working with them a little bit. And past president of the Iowa Corn Growers Association. And I do spend some time in Washington, D.C. still. So, it keeps me busy. Everybody says, what do you do in the winter? And it's like, well, this is it,
Sounds like you're busy.
Busy guy, well informed too, and I really enjoy the conversations that I get to have with you, and you really always give me a new perspective on how to look at issues that are affecting agriculture. And so, if we can, we'll just dive right into it.
Sure.
Today we just got to the show, and you can actually hear an airplane flying around right now,
which is very aggravating.
Which I think you've already made some phone calls trying to get some surface-to-air missiles here.
Yeah, that's of course we're joking when we say that, right?
Yeah.
The thing is about the airplane out there, and what we're going to talk about is we can have different views on things, but we can still be friends. And so
I know before we got started, we started a little conversation about this, and I said, well, we have to wait till the show starts so we don't use all our ammo. But if you are a faithful Rush Hour Ag listener, you'd know that we've had Representative Norland Munson on a couple different times. And the last time was, for me, very beneficial because I was on a different side than you were to start with. And Norland has, pretty much Norland himself has convinced me where my errors partially were. And I'm hoping that by today that you and I find some common ground. I think we will. We've known each other a long time. And I think there is common ground in this carbon capture pipeline, private property rights issue.
absolutely. Yeah.
So for the listeners, there is a plane flying with a banner right now, and it says "No CO2 pipeline, eminent domain."
That's correct.
And this is a topic even in Iowa that's right at the front of all policy discussion right now.
Absolutely. And I don't want eminent domain either. I don't like it. I would not want somebody to come to me and say, we're going to do this on your property. That would absolutely set me off in the wrong way. And so a lot of these folks that are, supporting that plane flying around, I understand where they're coming from. But I do have a different view as far as the carbon capture, and have been privy to a lot of information economics wise to that project from its conception because of the Iowa Corn Growers Association and being able to talk to folks involved in that and looking at the importance of it to our industry as corn farmers, because that's what I really care about, is the longevity, the legacy of my farm, the legacy of your farm and your farm as well. I mean, this is kind of an important project, and the technology works. It's going to spur industry. We think that one of the misconceptions is that we're going to just pump this into the ground forever and ever and ever. Well, that's not necessarily true. That is where there are rock formations that can hold that carbon, the liquid carbon, and it can do it well. But having a steady source of that carbon, of pure carbon, we have a pipeline then that we can hook into and start developing products from that. If we don't have that, it's going to be very, very difficult to develop those types of products. And they're vast. There's many. I'm not going to get into what they all are. I mean, there's stuff that we don't even know about yet. So the technology is great. Do I like eminent domain? Absolutely not. But we have a set of rules that was put in place years ago. Many folks have fell under that in other pipeline projects. This project was started underneath those rules, and to change the rules midstream, I don't think is a very good idea. If we want to look past this project into new projects and change rules on eminent domain, absolutely, all for it.
Sure.
Now, let's back up and maybe get to some basics. Our basics for me, we can get into the eminent domain part later, and we're not even that far apart on it with what you just said. But carbon capture to begin with, there's a lot of people that just don't believe in it, that we're bending to California and other people's rules, and that there's really not a basis for it other than, I'm going to call it junk science. I'll put my tinfoil hat back on. Everybody by now kind of knows I carry it in my back pocket. Anyway, is there any truth to any of that? I understand that it's going to drive economics and corn runs Iowa. I understand all that part.
Yep.
But are these things based off of real good sound science, or is it based off of somebody's fantasy that too much carbon? I mean, we have to have carbon to live.
Yep.
Do our big crops come from having a lot of carbon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 85% of a corn plant is carbon.
So this is a great segue into what I've got on my shirt is NASA. And the funny thing is, I had a NASA scientist, one of their top guys. I'm riding on a bus with him out to Kennedy Space Center, and we're talking about this, because I'm like, I had the same thing, got my tinfoil hat on. It's like, this is, God, really? Carbon? Come on, right? And he says, look, Lance, he says, yeah, the climate's changing, but there's no reason to be alarmed about us all burning up and, global warming. It's just, sorry, but it's, the temperature may be changing and it's very hard to measure, but the climate is changing in different areas. Climate changes in different regions, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. If somebody knew on your farm that the climate was going to change over the next 20 years, they knew that. You would certainly like to know that, right?
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. You would want to know what do I need to prepare for, those kinds of things. And some of the discussions that I had with them made me think I need to sell my land in Iowa and buy ground in North Dakota, right? The Corn Belt.
Those are conversations that are happening. Absolutely, yeah.
This is going to sound funny, but my father, he passed away in 1983, but he talked about the Corn Belt, or what we did farming moving north. He was talking about Minnesota, but what he do to Dakotas or Minnesota, he was talking about that back in the late 70s, early 80s. But I would have to say for me, I realize North Dakota grows a lot of corn. I'm not sure, that's a whole different discussion to get into crop insurance and why they grow corn. But One thing I've noticed though is Missouri grows a lot more corn, and that's from genetics, I believe, that's
Yeah.
drove that.
Well, I think you're right, Lou. I think that's even a whole nother episode. But
I'll have you back.
yeah, but let's get back to the carbon
Yep.
part of this and climate change and stuff like that. So that there's science out there that would show that the carbon in the atmosphere is increasing. There's correlation between that increase in climate change, but correlation doesn't mean causation. And that's where a lot of people get things confused, okay? There's a correlation, not causation. There's no proof of causation at this point. However, let's completely forget about climate and what, people think this is a waste, da 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 da. You have a product that's coming off these ethanol plants that has potential value, okay, in many different ways. One is there's products that can be made with carbon. Okay, we talked about spring industry. Okay, the other thing is the consumer around the world wants a lower carbon fuel source. They want a lower carbon food source. They want lower carbon everything. Well, how do you meet that demand? One is by capturing that carbon, sequestering it, or utilizing it. Okay, that's why this pipeline is important, because it will shore up the corn industry. It will maintain better prices for us in the future as corn farmers. We have a better chance of keeping family farms around for a long time with this technology and keeping the ethanol industry viable. We've got new engines coming out that are running 100% on E98, the exact product that comes out of an ethanol plant.
Which you were involved in Clear Flame a little bit too, weren't you?
Yeah, so Clear Flame engines. Yep, exactly.
So Clear Flame engines is something I'd love to spend some more time on, where it's kind of been a project that's kind of gone away, but I think it's getting new life breathed into it with taking existing diesel engines and then maybe changing out injectors. It's kind of like a retrofit kit where they're converting semi-truck engines to ethanol burning engines.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if some of the stats out there, like if you convert 40 or 70,000 trucks, you basically need like another Cedar Rapids, Iowa to grind corn.
Yeah, so let's do the back of the envelope math. I ran a truck for about 6 weeks, okay? And the diesel fuel equivalent to ethanol is 1.7 gallons. So it takes 1.7 gallons of ethanol to have the energy coefficient to 1 gallon of diesel, okay? So knowing that and looking at the price structure of ethanol that I could buy compared to the diesel I can buy.
Ethanol is like sub $2 a gallon.
It was, I think I paid $1.91 for it. Okay. And that was all the taxes, road use tax, everything included, $1.91 delivered to my farm. Okay. And so we ran that ethanol. I had a truck that was running on ethanol and a truck that was running on diesel. Okay. I'm going to tell you here today, that truck that was running on ethanol was smoking the diesel when it came to performance.
Sure.
So when you load that truck, with 80,000 pounds, take a load of corn down to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I was pulling hills like nobody's ever pulled hills before. Okay. It was great. I was loving it. It was fabulous. I wish I had it back. Did it use more fuel? Absolutely. But when we started looking at the math, it was about the same cost per mile. And that could be argued on, what kind of discounts maybe you got on your diesel, where'd you buy it, I mean, there's sometimes there's a nickel a gallon difference between stations and having it delivered to the farm. But what I was finding was about a 5 cent per mile decrease in cost using the ethanol. Okay, so that's a positive. The other positive to that is we're burning our own product. We're grinding more corn. To your point, the math, if we had 40,000 trucks converted in the Midwest that were running 50,000 miles a year, which isn't a lot of miles for a semi-tractor. Some run less, some run more, but let's just say they run 50,000 miles a year. That was going to burn about 350 million bushels of corn. That's 1 billion gallons of ethanol. Okay. That's 40,000 trucks. I don't remember what the stat is. I think there's like 1.6 million trucks or something like that on the road today. So it's a very small percentage of conversion.
It's a realistic number. It could easily be done.
Absolutely realistic, especially if you start looking at, the ag world, grain trucks. If we start looking at municipalities, city buses, those kinds of things, that's where we can start making a difference in our industry in corn. We're corn farmers, and we're really, really, really good at what we do. We're so good that we need to create demand for what we're doing.
Yeah, 16 billion bushels of corn gonna somehow appear this year. What are we gonna do with it? We need more grind.
Absolutely. And so here's a great way to look at doing that. We're reducing carbon. We're doing it cleaner. It's just a win-win all the way around. I mean,
What's the conversion on a gallon of diesel burning versus 1.7 gallon of gasoline burning for carbon emission? I would think considerably less.
It's considerably less. Yeah, I want to, don't quote me on this. I don't, I wanted to say it was like 67% less, maybe. Something like that.
I mean, really, the only thing it's putting out is NOx, right? Like.
So that depends on the technology.
Okay.
If you have an engine that's combustion ignition, such as a clear flame, then yes, it does produce NOx. So that engine would still need to have something to take care of that, such as DEF, diesel exhaust fluid.
Okay.
Now, I think that technology will probably develop and we'll be able to get away from that. But if you, like in a car, E85.
Well, an Indy car sitting right here,
Yeah.
Steve Sukup's, and that thing's burning 100% ethanol.
Yeah, there's probably no NOx coming out of it because it's spark ignition.
Okay.
So there's something to do with those two technologies that create NOx or doesn't create NOx.
Well, we had our NASCAR race for Iowa corn a couple weeks ago, and they had a John Deere tractor there.
Yeah.
And that John Deere tractor is a spark combustion engine.
Absolutely.
And it's burning. I mean, it's a prototype, but it is. I mean, this technology is coming into the ag world. We're really going to be able to benefit ourselves here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what better way to operate our farms than to be self-sufficient using our own products? I mean, it's just technology is coming a long way, and I'm excited to see what it brings in the future.
So I'm going to keep beating the dead horse.
It might come to life, Louis.
It might. It might. So back to the science and the following. So you kind of explained that's where past and some current people are at, that we got to reduce carbon. We got to reduce carbon. We have new administration.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that some of that, obviously, they're not so pro wind and solar for various reasons. Do you think that'll funnel back into this carbon sequestering, or do you think carbon sequestering is here to stay? Or I'm still going back to my original question. I get that the engine works good and all that. I'm 100% all that. Or are we just caving to the Californias of the world, or is the whole world behind this?
Well,
Or where does it end?
so yeah, that's a great question, and I don't have a great answer for it. I think that's a to be determined. Look, what's wrong with reducing emissions, right?
Absolutely
I
nothing.
mean, I went to New York City in 2023. The first time I ever been to New York City, I was asked to go out and speak on at a conference called AgMIP, Agricultural Modelers Improvement Program, hosted by NASA, right? I'm the only farmer there. There's 200 plus PhDs from around the world. And of course, I introduced myself as Lance Lillibridge. I have a PhD as well, but it stands for piled high and deep. But, around the world, those folks, they're looking at emissions and what's wrong with it. I'm in New York City, and I got asked by many people, what do you think of New York? I says, and I was in Central Park the first time I got asked that. And I said, well, there's no way I can graze any Ragged Angus cattle in this park. It's nasty. It's dirty. There's garbage everywhere. And you can't breathe. I mean, it's not clean air. I'm sorry, it just isn't. Even though New York's done a lot of things to reduce, vehicles and whatnot, public transportation and subways, but it just wasn't. It was just nasty. I couldn't wait to get back home to Iowa, and people think on the East Coast and the West Coast that we're the ones that are polluting. And I beg to differ. It's completely wrong. Maybe completely the opposite of that. And so, but at the same time, if we can provide them with a fuel that has less emissions in their buses and their vehicles, then California's doing the right thing, you know, as much as I hate to say that, Louis, but
I question if California does much that's really correct under
I
the
think
current
we're
administration.
in
But,
agreement on that. Yeah.
but I would say that there probably aren't, because they're going a different route. If they go with the ethanol, I would be behind you. I think they're going more of the electric.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out quick, for anyone that lives in Iowa, around Iowa, Johnson County went with electric buses a few years ago. I was really glad Lynn County decided not to. I was on the board of supervisors at the time and fought against it. After all, Lynn County and Cedar Rapids is the corn milling capital of the world. We mill more corn there than anywhere else in the world. But just a few days ago, maybe a week, it was in the paper that the buses in Johnson County are all out of commission, weighing on parts, and the company that they bought these from is bankrupt, I believe.
Yep.
And it's just a mess. Well, I'm 100% against, or again, not against, for using more ethanol. I'm for all that. I question it. I'm going to circle back quick to the legislation part, of which I was originally 100% that it should have been signed. Have changed my mind largely because of Representative Munson and the fact that it really didn't do anything for landowners' rights or anything like that. And perhaps the problem lies with the Iowa Utilities Board and what pipeline companies are allowed to do. Now, whether that happens before or after the Summit pipeline, we can argue that. That's kind of its own horse.
Yep.
But in the end, I think is what I heard you say, is that you would probably be supportive of some kind of legislation that dealt with both.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to have some legislation that deals with both. I mean, I think everybody needs to come to the table and say, look, we got a project here that's going to be great for Iowa, but let's figure out how to get around. You know, they got all these rules. You know, you got to do this, got to do this. Let's figure out how to get around some of that so that we can protect the people that don't want this on their property, and you know, utilize the people that do want it on their property. I want to tell you guys a story. Every year I go to the state fair, right? And there's a guy with Red Angus cattle. He's a good friend of mine. He hates the pipeline, right? They were going to come across the corner of his property and just really made him mad. So every year we'd have this debate. And last year I walked into the state fair and he says, "You ready?" And I said, "Let me have it. Just let me have it. Go ahead," you know. And so he got on me, you know, and so anyways, as we're talking, his son was there and his son's son was there, and they're getting cattle ready, you know, taking care of the cattle. And I says, I said, "Let me ask you a question. You're getting up there in years. You probably want this farm to go to your son, right?" He says, "Well, yeah." And I says, and you know, you probably would love to have it go to your grandson eventually sometime. You'd like to keep it in the family, right? He says, "Yeah." "Let me ask you another question. Do you want your grandson to be selling $3 corn, or do you want him to be selling $7 corn?" And he just kind of put his head down and he says, "You know, maybe I need to rethink some things." I said, "Absolutely." So, you know, we need to think about this. And I am all for the guy that doesn't want eminent domain. That's great. I'll stand beside my friend and you know, say, "Hey, figure out a way to get away from his place. Let's figure out how to get around it." You know?
Well, we've got pipelines coming in from Nebraska right now. No eminent domain, all voluntary. I mean, It's possible to be done.
Absolutely.
And I want to circle back here on, you know, I'll be the first to throw stones at California, but a lot of people don't realize California is the #1 user of ethanol in this country.
Yep.
I mean, that is the biggest market
I didn't realize that.
for ethanol.
Yes.
So like,
Do they get it? Is it American-made ethanol?
a lot. I mean, yeah, it is. It's the biggest consumer of ethanol product in this country. And then you asked the question about, you know, is the world behind this? 100% the world's behind this.
Absolutely.
Europe is behind this. They're probably the biggest driver for low carbon products. In South America, which is our #1 competitor, they are building ethanol plants and they got a better subsoil or geography.
They're doing all of this.
They're doing it all. Yeah. So we got to catch up.
Absolutely. If we want to be competitive in agriculture around the globe, we got to be the innovator.
And we're great at growing the stuff. We got to figure out a way to capitalize on it now.
Absolutely.
So while we're innovating, and if you don't want to go there, just say so. We're going to look at this tractor. I did not attend the NASCAR race, but this tractor runs 100% on or 98% on ethanol.
Yep.
And John Deere's making it, from what you guys said.
It looks just like an 8R tractor.
I get all that, but will it be something that's for American use? Or will it be like, there's a lot of things that you can get in other countries that are made by American countries.
Yep.
You can buy a Ford pickup in other countries that's totally different than our Ford pickup.
Yep.
You can buy tractors probably down there now that don't have any DEF. I mean, our own companies, our own government, I guess DEF would be a government thing, not necessarily a company thing. They kind of work against us sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you, Louis. I think our own government is definitely works against us. And part of that is maybe ignorance. They don't know about a lot of the things. I mean, you got people that are making policy that have never even stepped on a farm before, and they're voting on our futures.
That's just going to get worse.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. But, so back to the tractor in South America. I mean, South America wants this technology, and they seem to. I mean, they're ready for it. They've got infrastructure that can provide that right now. I'm not sure we're there yet, but it wouldn't be hard for us to do. We have to have the ethanol industry get behind the technology and say, yeah, we're going to make fuel available for you. It's going to be really easy to make fuel available on the farm. I've done it. Okay, I've had an E98 delivered to my farm from a
I
local
thought you had it
retailer.
still.
No,
Yeah, don't be talking about that. Yeah, we got a moonshiner here.
yeah, no, but we've done it. It's not that difficult, but to scale that up so that we could have ethanol available to every part of the country for a tractor manufacturer to retail that tractor to folks, that's something that has to be worked on and built on. So, would you like to run a tractor like that?
Well, I'd love to have one out and try it out.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a combine like that. My
Absolutely.
780 eats quite a bit of I mean, combine's a lot of corn in an hour, but it eats its share of fuel in it.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a grain dryer like that.
Well, that'd be all right too. Yeah.
How about you, Elliot?
Yeah.
Would you like to run a tractor like that?
Yes, I would.
I mean, that's something that would have a place on your farm. Yeah.
I really I have had an E85 vehicle before, and I always filled up with the 85, and I'm not one that really watches all the gauges in there. I try to watch the speedometer. When you can fill up that much cheaper, I enjoyed that. My pickup, I drive Fords. Ford kind of left that. I hope they go back to it. I'm not sure if they truly left it or if they just don't have it as an option, because I know of people that use that same fuel in their other pickups and don't have any problems with it.
Yep.
So
we got to go back to the
lawnmower forever, and I've never had a lawnmower problem.
I burn E15 in my Harley Davidson, and that's another funny story. When I went and I bought my first Harley Davidson motorcycle, and they told me I could only put premium gasoline in it. I gave them all the paperwork back and said I don't want it. They said, what? And I said, it's just garbage. I don't want it. If I can't burn E15 in it, I don't want it. And so there was quite a conversation that happened after that, and eventually they said that they would stand behind it, and I never had a problem with it ever. In fact, I've got a 2018 Tri-Glide Harley Davidson that's been in the garage and sat there for 2 years with the E15, and I haven't rode for 2 years. And I put a new battery in it this weekend, and she started right up, and I went for a ride, no problem. So
That's lucky.
it's
ethanol.
hey, a squirrel's got to find a nut every now and then.
Well, we've had a nice short episode here. I'd like to kind of wrap this one up, and then maybe we'll start another one and go into maybe some fertilizer topic
Sure.
and the work you're doing at NASA.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So I guess we'll sign off from Rush Hour Ag for now, and we'll fire right back up with our same guest, and it'll be a 2-weeker.
Yep. Tune on in for the next episode. Rush Hour Ag.
Yep. Rush on back. Thanks.